Hello and welcome to Board Game Madness. I'm Mike Kinnaid, and today we have sort of a Gateway Games head-to-head challenge here. We have the number 12 seed in Welcome To and the number 21 seed with King of Tokyo. So, to give you a quick background about these games, both of these are older games. They're much more gateway games than a lot of the other things you've seen in my collection so far. King of Tokyo is a head-to-head player elimination game designed by Richard Garfield. You can see all the awards it's won down here. But basically in this game, you're going to pick a monster, roll dice, and it's like a competitive sort of Yahtzee type thing where you're rolling to deal damage to the person who's King of Tokyo, and you're trying to keep your health up and also stay in the middle of Tokyo for as long as possible. So it's a push your luck, dice rolling, elimination game with other players. The interesting thing about it is usually I don't like player elimination, but there's something about the way this game works that when someone loses, like is out of the game, like everyone else is not that far after them. So it somehow works in my opinion. And then Welcome To is a flip and write game. So the reason I say flip, it's like roll and write, except it has cards that you flip over. And in this one, you're trying to design a subdivision of housing for the most, you're trying to design like a development for housing as best you can to score the most points. So now that you have a little bit of background about each game, let's go to sort of the production of these games. Let's do Welcome To first because it's pretty simple. You obviously have pencils, but everyone gets a sheet like this at the beginning of the game. This is where you write out and design your development of houses and put in swimming pools and things like that. So every player gets one of these sheets and a pencil, and then you have this deck of cards with a number on it, because you have to put your houses in order on your street. So, 7, 8, 9. You can skip numbers, but you can't go 1, 9, 5, So the way this works is you have these cards and choices, and you flip over, and you can use a number and one of the discarded cards. You have a couple choices, and this represents an action you can take. So you take the action on the card, and then you can add one of these houses in your spot. So that is Welcome To. Again, both of these games are pretty straightforward. The production for Welcome To is just that pad of paper, some pencils, and those cards to flip. Meanwhile, King of Tokyo has a little bit more going for it. It has these energy cubes that you collect as you fight. It has these big chunky custom dice that you roll for claws. Claws are what deal damage. Hearts heal you back up. Energy obviously gives you energy to buy new cards. You can use energy to buy cool abilities. This is where most of the artwork is for this particular game. It's in these cards where you can give your monster new abilities. And you have a standee. There's a board. It's a very small board, but there is a board that goes in the middle where someone's trying to put your figure, you try to stay in Tokyo, and everyone else can take their figure and enter and kick people out. It's sort of whoever sits in the hot seat. Everybody does get a really nice victory point calculator and health. And the interesting thing about this is you need victory points because if someone sits in the middle of Tokyo and gets to the maximum victory point, they win. But most of the time, in most games I've played, what happens is players are eliminated and it's the last monster standing based on health. So it's interesting that they have this just so it's a threat, but I've almost never seen this win condition is much more common that you run out of health on your monster. So that's the production. I think this is pretty straightforward. Even though King of Tokyo, is an older game, I've got, the version I have here I think is from like 2013. Its production, it has more stuff going for it than Welcome To. It's got cards with excellent artwork. It has some nice standees and cool monster art on them. It has some really nice chunky custom dice. And it has everything it needs. Some nice plastic Energon cubes. I mean, when it comes to production, in this case, this particular roll and write just can't compete. It really is just a piece of paper for each player and cards. The beauty of Welcome To is not in its production, I don't think. That's a pretty easy one. Let's go on to game mechanics. This is, I actually think it's closer than normal. Both of these games are great if you have players or friends or people over who are not big-time board gamers. Both games are very simple teaches, easy to get to the table, easy setup and teardown. They're both relatively quick. Welcome To is 25 minutes. King of Tokyo is 30 minutes. So you're not talking about sitting down with a big commitment and a big crunchy game in either of these cases. It's sort of funny that they happen to be up against each other in the first round here in this tournament I put together, because they do really both sort of serve as like a filler game or as a great sort of gateway game or casual game for players like who are just getting into the hobby. So, you know, for me, Welcome To has a really cool puzzle here that I've played a lot. You know, you flip over a card and figuring out how to fill out your street. It's one of those things where at the beginning it's easy. You've got all these rooms and you can take any number. But as the game goes on, it gets harder and harder to squeeze in and take one of the actions without getting into the penalty situation. So it's a really neat puzzle with the tension rises near the end. I've played it a ton. I've played it with a lot of different people. King of Tokyo, I've played with a ton of people too. I've even had it at like a party before I had kids where we just had board games for people to play. And this was a big hit with everyone. Again, if you like Yahtzee, this is like a competitive version of Yahtzee with a very fun sort of Godzilla theme on it. I think for me, the deciding factor here is just the fact that King of Tokyo, the base game of King of Tokyo, all the monsters are effectively the same. And I have the expansion. I forget what it's called, like Energized, Monsters Energized or something. But the expansion gives each monster a unique pack of ability cards. And I really can't play this particular base game without that expansion. It just feels like it's weird that Donkey Kong's the same as like the Godzilla creature in this. Or King Kong, I should say, not Donkey Kong. That's the Nintendo character. I hope they won't come after me, but they're obviously all based on the tropes of that, of sort of the big monster kaiju movies. And I think for me, because I really don't want to play this game without its expansion where all the monsters are unique, that has me leaning towards going with Welcome To. Welcome To is a great little puzzle game. I don't think, like, it comes complete in the box. It's great fun just in and out of the box. So for those reasons, I'm going to go with Welcome To. Whereas if this has its expansion, where each monster is unique, this is effectively a tie. Maybe it goes to King of Tokyo in that case. But when we're looking at just the base games, I think mechanically, Welcome To, you know, the flip and write genre is a great little genre. This one is one of those games that just does it really well. So if you're into that type of thing, if you like flip and write or roll and write, Welcome To. I'm sure most of you watching this have heard of this game and have probably played it because it's a perpetual game in a lot of people's collection because of that. So for game mechanics, we'll go with Welcome To. And we'll move on to theme. And I think this one's pretty easy too. When it comes to theme, I really like the cover of Welcome To. And this idea that you're building sort of the suburbs back in the 50s and 60s when those type of communities were being put up really quickly. And I think the sheet looks really nice, but that's sort of all there is to represent the theme. Like, there's nothing else. The cards are very bland. They just show you an action icon. There's not a lot going on to sink your teeth into as far as theme goes outside of that cover image and the box image. And I don't know about you, but I typically don't sit around and play a game with the box, looking at the cover of the box to keep me in the theme. I'm usually just putting the components out on the table. So while the sheet does a good job, it certainly represents what I'm doing. I don't think it's as thematic as King of Tokyo, where you've got all these huge monsters around in a city that's catching on fire. When you add the expansion in, where all the monsters have unique abilities and they're charging up and mutating and getting Nova Breath, it's just much more thematic. It's a lot of fun. You know, this is sort of like, I would say that King of Tokyo is sort of the equivalent of like a popcorn movie for board games, where it's like just a lot of fun. It's simple. It's like a blockbuster movie. There's not a lot to think about, but it's dumb fun. There is a lot of fun to be had with it. So now we're going to move on to the final category, which is sort of lasting impressions, replayability, my sort of gut reaction to these games after having them in my collection for this long, and which game I would sort of rather play on the table. And this is a tough one here because, you know, certainly based on the seating and the game, if I had to go with strictly gameplay, and I didn't have as I said in the mechanics section, if I didn't have the expansion for this, you know, it's still really close. It would depend on my group of which game I pick to play. I really think they have about equal replayability. They're both a lot of fun, but you know, if we're looking at them both without expansions, you know, you're going to play both of these games dozens of times before they really wear on you. King of Tokyo, because it's more thematic and you have these big monsters, it does ask more for an expansion. And I know Welcome To has expansions or standalone expansions or other things to do where they mix up the mechanics a little bit. But I'm not sure if they have anything to add to just the base original game. Not positive. So, you know, for me, I really would give this a tie. I think you're probably going to get about the same amount of playing and longevity to them. If you ask me which one I wanted to play right now or which one I would want to set up on the table, in this moment, I would pick King of Tokyo because it's been longer since I've played it. But if I were taking that out, I really would say, well, what do you feel like playing? Like, based on the group or who I was playing with, I may steer them one direction or the other based on their tastes. Because both of these games work with your friends. It just sort of depends on what type of theme and what type of thing they like better. King of Tokyo may be a little bit easier for bigger groups than Welcome To. Welcome To does have a little bit more thinkiness to it. But the other great thing about Welcome To is there's no turns. It's, you know, simultaneous actions. You're flipping over cards and you're all writing together. So that's a real strength of Welcome To as well. And I guess for the sake of this video, you know, we've had King of Tokyo here. It's one production and theme. And Welcome To is only one mechanics. And we're sort of in this replayability thing. Not only... And I think in this case, I mean, even if I were to say that Welcome To has a lot more replayability, I have probably played this more than King of Tokyo in my collection. I probably played this more times. But the fact that winning that only means Welcome To ties, I think we have to go with another upset here and say, you know, if we give replayability to Welcome To, it's tied, and then we have to pick which one we really like better. And while going into this, my gut would have said Welcome To is the better game, is the game that sort of everyone out there has. If I'm looking at my collection, I'm thinking which game I really don't want to get rid of right now. I don't mind getting rid of Welcome To. I've played it a ton. I've gotten what I want out of it. If anything, I'd sell it and I'd get Welcome To the Moon or one of the other expansions and see something new. Whereas looking at King of Tokyo right now, I want to call over my friends, put a Godzilla movie on in the background on mute, and play this with the, I mean, granted, I want to play it with the Energize expansion, but I've got that. It's a lot of fun, and it's one of those things. Every time I break it out, it says only 30 minutes, but we play it. We play it several times in a row. I don't recall the last time I brought this out on the table and only played one game of it. I almost always played at least 2 games of this. Whereas Welcome to, I never do that. Whenever I play Welcome to, we play one game, put it back in the box. Maybe when I first got it, we played a couple in a row, but King of Tokyo, I always do that. So we have yet another upset. I feel like my opinions are not aligning very well with the Board Game Geek rankings, but just goes to show you the flaws. I think those rankings put a lot of emphasis on just quantity of a product sold, so there's enough reviews. The more reviews a game has, the higher it's going to be up in the rankings, regardless of what people are ranking it. So we're going to go with King of Tokyo through. It was a close one. This is a very close one, but this is one of those games I almost forgot about it, and I want to play it now. You know, it's been on my shelf for so long. I've had it for so long, sort of forgot about it, but my kids would love it now, and it'd be a lot of fun. So I'm not only going to move King of Tokyo on, I'm looking to play it soon with my kids. So that is the end of this matchup. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, please like and subscribe to this video. It really means the world to me in this grand experiment of content creation that we're sort of doing. It's not what we do by trade. It's not my strength, but it's something to break up. It's something I sort of planned to do and an idea I had for a long time. So any comments or suggestions on how to make the format better in the future, or any cheering for the games or yelling at me that I got it wrong, is all acceptable in the comment section. I just hope that you'll keep checking out these videos and stay tuned to see the winner of my collection in this board game countdown of sort of the best games in my collection. So once again, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and have a great day.